this is it. This is the brass ring of lost Twisted Metal material, Harbor City. We are finally checking it out. What is available? Because, well, I do not have access to the most complete version of Harbor City that exists. What we have here is the 2004 build, which is dated January 29th. This seems improbable for a variety of reasons. Among them is the fact that Head On also has a prototype dated the same day. So, some kind of weirdness occurred. It seems like the dates for the prototypes were pulled from metadata and do not represent either the earliest or most recent revisions to any aspect of the beta, just an arbitrary date pulled from some part of the code. So they don't really represent anything. But this was worked on in the year 2004, that's what we know. There's a 2003 build, and also a 2005 build. And I wish I could show you the 2005 build, but I cannot. I also cannot show you this game's music, because the entire soundtrack for Harbor City is licensed music by bands like KMFDM, Massive Attack, the Crystal Method, I think. Kid Rock is on there. There's inexplicably a song from the Fight Club soundtrack in there. It was probably temp music, but it was also altered and remixed so that it only plays like a short loop from each of those songs. Very, very strange, but I'm glad not to be subjecting you to Kid Rock right now. You can thank me right now, quite frankly, and later. So, clearly a beta menu. Very little information to go off of. You want to select Endurance Mode here. It is not one-on-one fights the way Endurance Mode works in every other Twisted Metal. It basically functions the same way as Challenge Mode does. Roadkill, Rock, Kid Rock, what do you know? We can't play as this vehicle, so we'll never know what it is. I assume it's supposed to be manslaughter, i.e. a dump truck full of rocks. We'll start with Roadkill. Roadkill works. And the default level is Goth. And this might be one of the only songs worse than Kid Rock. This song is not bad, but it haunts my nightmares. We'll do Goth last. Instead, we'll start with the Rail Yard. And enough ado. In we go. Load times are quite lengthy, so I will disable the frame limiter. Oh, look at that beautiful ocean. An endless expanse lays before us. Oh, I got frozen there? Getting frozen can be devastating for some vehicles. There are vehicles... Getting frozen is glitched in this game. It has incomplete implementation. So we don't have a free shot. We have most of our other energy moves, but free shots do not work. And if an enemy freezes us, we might never unfreeze. That seems to be an issue specifically with Shadow. That we'll probably see. Oh, stuck underneath the thing. Clearly a lot of these are untextured, but some things are. These shipping crates, textured. I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit because the game should have sound effects. But they're surprisingly faint. I'm gonna remix the audio real quick. And That's probably a bit more like it. So we got these untextured cars. The green ones. You can... Yeah, there we go. You can break the top part of them. I don't know why. But they are mildly interactable in that way. And there are also blue cars scattered around. Blue cars can be destroyed in their entirety. Little construction area. It's the big, deep pit underneath the bridge. I did see some buildings that we can check out. Oh, those are indestructible. They probably would not be in the finished game. But there is no finished game. Mr. Slam is playable in this game, so we'll see. The man himself. Oh, a big water tower. Wow. What a destruction animation. I'm not making fun of this game. It is desperately unfinished. This is one of the most unfinished levels. I think this is the most unfinished level in the entire game. So, it's a good place to start, because we're actually going to be going way up in quality from here. Most of the other levels have way more to see and more to do. So, we didn't see any of the blue cars, but blue means destructible. So, we shoot that, the entire ceiling collapses and builds a ramp for us, so that we can get up to the second level. And right out the window. There's really nothing on the second level either. You may also have noticed there are no pickups at all in this level. So actual success by damage is unlikely. There's the blue cars. They could just be completely annihilated. Removed from existence with a single bullet. That is head-on roadkill versus black roadkill. Most of our playable vehicles will be the Twisted Metal Black version, and most of the enemy vehicles will be the head-on version. It is a meeting of worlds. Very surreal in a lot of ways. We've pretty much seen all there is to see here. I was wondering if the top of the bridge would have actual collision. That's neat. That's Twister. Hi, Twister. Yeah, black versus head-on seems to be what they were going for. Oh, I've fallen out of bounds. There's no way to get back into bounds, and I'm going to accelerate infinitely, well into the thousands of miles per hour, so goodbye, cruel world. You belong to Twister now. It has been heavily implied that the colorful world versus the dark world was going to be Twisted Metal Black 2. Just in time for the song to end. So I have save states set up to teleport me back to the title screen whenever I warp myself into an unwinnable situation. For obvious reasons. Now... I'm actually going to drop a save state in a moment. Like I said, rock is unusable. If we try to load rock, it will just load infinitely and nothing will ever happen. Semi, unfortunately, considering the similarities to big rigs, Semi is not usable. That probably would have been Dark Side. But it will not work in this game. So we saw the rail yard onto center with a silent C. It's a smelly center. One more save state. And on we go. So here's my favorite thing. SUV is clearly outlaw, but Agent Stone is not attached to the vehicle. He rotates around the outside of the vehicle. He is a SWAT master who is no longer bound by the laws of physics. Like most outlaws, he will do whatever he wants. The lower half of his body be damned. We actually have pickups in this level. We have carnival crap. Look at these cute little carnival attractions. Makes me want to play a Rogue Trip minigame and blow them all up. No one's riding this thing. No one's riding any of these things, actually. Their loss. But as noted, this was going to be Twisted Metal Black 2. And these are colors. Black 2 would have had actual colors in it. Unacceptable. It had to die. It was too beautiful for this world. And I believe repeatedly hitting the fire button does increase our damage as we use the special. It doesn't depict any missiles, so I could be incorrect. You don't get a lot of visual feedback, or frankly any feedback, here in this version of the game. But as noted, there is a 2005 release. It is dated August 11th, 2005. This makes absolutely no sense. Why were they working on Harbor City as late as August of 2005 when Head On, the game that had replaced Harbor City, was released in March of 2005? Much, much earlier, in the year 2005. Bizarrely, they kept working on Harbor City after Head On was released. Although they did not have any discernible intention to actually release it. I don't know why. They seem to have like spruced up those files one last time to make a surprisingly good prototype, which is only playable on a physical PS2 console, but not any PS2 console, specifically a tool kit. Now, when you're like testing a game, there's a test kit, which is more powerful than any on-the-market PS2 console. What was required was a tool kit, which was much more powerful even than the test kit. And extremely rare, very few test kits or tool kits still exist to this day. So that prototype is readily available, but hardly anyone can play it. There are videos of it on YouTube. The people who can play it have posted playthroughs of it. And basically everything you see here is textured in the 2005 build. It looks really good. The AI works better. You can't fly yourself out of bounds, the way I frequently do in this game. There's an actual health refill. There was also one on top of the roof, indicating that we were meant to get up there. This structure is some kind of weird stadium. I mean, it's a stadium here, but look at this tiny little basketball court. Or Lilliputian basketball games. And just smooth spectators. They don't have seats. You sit on an incline and watch the tiny flea circus basketball game. So this whole basketball thing is not in the finished or the more finished prototype version from 2005, most of that building is inaccessible in the later prototype. But you can tell it's still supposed to be the same building because it has these weird corner things. They can still get on top and see the same things. I just noticed that I broke one of the concrete barriers there to make getting on top of the building easier. Neat. But we've pretty much seen all of the center. I think that, yeah, that's breakable. So that would have been a textured statue of some variety. It looks like a big magnet. And then when you break it, it turns into a ramp to get you up here. So you can see the gist. You got the skeleton of a level here. It is much more complete than the rail yard was. We have an elevated subway. Oxymoron, I know, but such structures do exist. And we can ride those rails. But they are very, very narrow, and I will probably fail to do so. Yeah, I bounced off. But there's another train station over this way. There it is. There's no reason to do combat because the enemy AI is busted, so their behavior makes no sense. They're just sort of driving randomly, aimlessly. No intention to do much of anything. They will fire weapons, but very, very inaccurately. And they're hard to hit because they're just swerving nonsensically. They don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. So combat is very, very unsatisfying. It is not the purpose of what we're doing here. I cannot call this full playthrough. But it is a nice showcase of what we have on offer. And that's about as much as there is to show of this level. Into the void. All we needed to show was the underside of the level. Oh, we can't pause because there's an extensive debug menu. But once you activate the debug menu, you cannot return to the normal pause menu. And the audio will not be muted via typical options. The music cannot be muted, so I had to go into the debug menu to mute the music without muting the in-game sound effects. Just slap this whole game together as best I could. Sweet Tooth is playable. Tank probably would have been Warthog. Tank does not load, so we'll never know. Also, weirdly enough, there's Tank, and there's Wart. Let's play Wart. Wart actually will load. This level will not. There actually is a selectable, unnamed level here. But if you try to load that level, it's an endless load. You never go anywhere. So on to the docks. Let's see what Wart is. Wart might be my favorite vehicle in this game. Oh, will it load? Yes! Wart! So we also have an untextured vehicle that is unmovable. Nothing I do will move this vehicle. Eventually, one of the enemy vehicles will probably bump into Wart here, and that will cause the game to hard lock. Wart is very thoroughly broken. But it probably would have been like a classic Hummer-style Warthog, and Tank was probably the Twisted Metal Black-style Warthog. If I had to guess. For now, though, I love Wart. We cannot explore this level as Wart, though. So, tragically, Wart has had his moment in the sun. Goodbye, Wart. Onward to... We can play Sweet Tooth. We just saw Sweet Tooth, though. Got Taxi, Thump. I promised we'd see Thumper. My promise is about to be fulfilled as we enter the docks. Toe, we can probably guess that is Junkyard Dog, and Toe is playable. So I will break out Toe. There are 15 functional vehicles in this prototype. And only 5 functional levels, so we're gonna have to do some redundant stuff. But yeah, it's not the version of Thumper that was linked in the last playthrough of Twisted Metal Lost. The version of Thumper that was designed for Twisted Metal Black universe. Clearly this is head-on Thumper. There are a variety of playable head-on vehicles in this game. And such detailed pedestrians. Look at them. Just endless cardboard cutouts of Fonzie. As far as the eye can see. I love them. We've got signage on each street corner, which is intentionally blurred to illegibility. Oh, look at these guys go. They are schmoovin'. Initially, I was going to say they copped out with these crappy street sign textures, but they're actually from Black. I showed them off in Black recently. So yeah, they just reused the textures that are blurred to illegibility. Now we're in Black. Here's the cover of Black on a bus bench. These buildings seem accessible. They absolutely are not. And if you spin the camera into out of bounds, things get weird. So those aren't the only civilians in this level. We'll see other civilians. But they are a candidate for the best civilians in this level. So the other civilians we see are also pretty cool. We have a parking garage that is very active. A lot of traffic inside this parking garage. I love how explodable these cars are. There's the docks themselves. What I really wanted to show off. It's up on this overpass. Let's actually get up there now. So we have billboards for Twisted Metal Black. Head to your local GameStop. Pick up your copy of Twisted Metal Black today. I mean, I'd say it's worth it. It's been entertaining me for 20 some odd years. We can take these ramps. Oh, this one just leads to a park. There's a neat little area to explore. Here's our other civilian. T-Pose Man. Just balding, middle-aged T-Pose Man. Trying to stay relevant with the kids of today. By doing the meme. Waiting for the elevator. He's not going to get through those doors with those T-poses. He's going to have to go in sideways. It might be Dr. Phil. He has no hands. I feel like Dr. Phil notably has both hands and feet. This guy's extremities just end. He appears to be wearing cool shades, maybe? Whatever the case, his eyes are way too close together. Honestly, he looks like Postal Guy. But like a severely disheveled, out-of-shape Postal Guy. On his last legs. Postal Guy is not held up well in the Twisted Metal universe. Oh. Did not mean to leap all the way out of the overpass. So we'll just head back in there. We have not seen the last of T-posing Postal Guy. But here's the elevators they're waiting for. They're trying to get to the busy car park. I'm just making it busier with all my car crashes. So, get there from here. Yes. We saw the Twisted Metal Black thing. I think this is what I want. Oh yeah, that looks spicy. So some of you might already recognize what that is. That is Ultra V. This summer, Ultra V the movie. All Your Baby Are Belong to Us. That is staying relevant with the kids of 2004. Oh yeah. So this is an image from War of the Monsters. Ultra V is one of the playable characters in War of the Monsters. And they slapped together this terrible billboard. Just to have something to catch your eye as you drive around this level. Oh, I appear to have... There we go. I partially clipped into the building and then I clipped back out. Lucky me. So, there's still the docks to check out. We're going to get to the docks in style, I think. The skill missiles do not work. You can collect them, but it never adds anything to your inventory if you collect them. Sadly. Alright. Save it. We got business to attend to with this bright purple ramp. We can drive onto this crane. And then onto a ship. Really, this ship terrain and texture was reused in the death port of Twisted Metal Lost. So that's neat. But the docks are quite elaborate and loaded to the brim with T-posers. Some of them even have hands and feet. They're the lucky ones. Got a big old warehouse. Yeah, I figured these would be destructible, with actual little animations to break them. Don't get a lot of those here in unfinished Harbor City. We can also get on top of this crane. Tell because it's a health refill. Oh, I fell into the water. They actually enabled the out of bounds thing that teleports you back to safety at the cost of a bit of HP. So this is one of the more finished levels in the game. The 2005 build, of course, is even more finished than this. Basically everything is textured and working. But the cranes never move. Not a ton of interactables. Another T-poser. This guy's waiting for stunts, just hanging out on the ramp, waiting for people to jump over him. I have obliged. Now that is pretty much all there is to see of the docks. Not entirely sure why there are railroad tracks here. Let's at least observe the enemies. I think the enemies always stay on the upper street level here. Their pathing is very bad when it comes to really doing anything in this level. You'll note, as I scroll through my weapons, no special. I would say most of the vehicles in this game do not have access to their special, or any special for that matter. So you are at the mercy of what pickups you can collect. There we go, I can do combat. Everyone is stuck in this corner, so I'm outnumbered. Wouldn't go great. Nor would it be very fun. So, that's the pause menu that I can't use. Where do we leave off? Toe. Let's check out Toe, Vet, Twist, you can probably figure out. Mr. Slam, Cop, Crim, Hammer, Grass, Wart, Axle, Derby, Hearse, Grim, Breach. A lot of those vehicles do not work, but some of them do. Okay. Ghetto is the second to last level. Oh yeah, it was mentioned that Pit Viper was playable in this game. Ved is Spectre, and Spectre works, but I think he even has the special. It's the Twisted Metal Black version, too. So yeah, maybe I could show that off, but we all know the gist of that one. As with most vehicles, you can't activate your special, you can't see the weapons you have selected on your vehicle. So Toe is in a bit of a sad state here in the ghetto. So yeah, it was mentioned that Pit Viper was playable in the Harbor City prototype. So, let's head into this bejeweled ghetto. Yeah, let's hop into Grasshopper right now. See how that treats us. Grasshopper is also untextured and unfinished. But they were probably going to make this into Pit Viper. It's weird. In the 2005 version, there is a playable version of a dune buggy, and it looks exactly like Pit Viper from the... Oh, here he comes. Crash into me. Crash the game. Yes! Oblivion has been achieved. My speed immediately skyrocketed to 1337,572.25. That was unstoppable force meets unmovable object. The entire universe was annihilated. So, glad I was able to show that off. But it seems very much like they were going to add Pit Viper to the Dark World in Harbor City. And they never got the chance. Bit of a shame. Twister's playable and fairly interesting, so let's take Twister out for a ride. But that means that Pit Viper was supposed to be in Twisted Metal 2, replaced with Grasshopper at the last second, as evidenced by the fact that Grasshopper's sprite sheet still has Pit Viper's special. That's actually where I pulled the Pit Viper special to make the emote here on Twitch. Here we have Kaboom fences. They do not actually explode, but these Kaboom sheds They do explode, sort of. No visual effects on our special, but we should be able to grab people. There we go. I could hurl them out, but they basically have hyperspace. Like, they will teleport back in bounds if you throw them over the edge. That is a trick that we do not have access to ourselves. And these, like, gray untextured buildings, some of them are destructible. There they go. So yeah, Pit Viper cut from Twisted Metal 2. Then they wanted to bring it back in Harbor City. Harbor City was canceled. Then they wanted to bring it back in Twisted Metal 2012. And they textured it and they built the whole vehicle. Totally prepared for implementation. It was going to be DLC. And then they canceled all DLC releases for Twisted Metal 2012. So, poor Pit Viper has been deleted from 3 separate Twisted Metal games. And to this day, only actually exists in 1 game. End of the day, it's a better vehicle than Grasshopper. A vehicle that has appeared in 2 games. And is therefore twice as successful. So I can climb pretty high here, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna climb back up there. Those smokestacks reminded me of something important. Let's get as high as we can. We need to be a little higher. Maybe power missiles. Don't have any jumps left. It might not be this version of the game, but that smokestack that I'm firing at is destructible in a version of Harbor City. I can break it from down here. I don't have a clean shot. Ah, well. There's no animation. It just flops over. And it appears like it forms a tunnel, but you can't actually use it as a tunnel. Here we have tiny baseball fields. And they're opposite one another, so close that they share an outfield. So you could have, like, dueling baseball games here, where one home run becomes a fair ball in the other game. And then right next door, a gargantuan soccer field. Like, approximately regulation size. And right next to a busy road. So that if you miss the goal, it's got a busy road on both sides. If either team misses the goal, someone's gonna die trying to recover that ball. Tragedy in the making. Good thing this city was never open for business. So, here on the elevated highway segment, there's actually a front half and a back half to it. We are on the front half now. If I head back around and take a separate ramp, and it will take me to the back half. I guess inbound and outbound would be the correct terminology, if there was any traffic. So there's the ramp to the front side that says ghetto. And here's the ramp to the back side, which I will ride the wall to get there. Oh, don't want to go there. That is out of bounds. No coming back from that. Besides loading a save state. The back half is a little less interesting, if we're honest. What you can do, if you don't like the side you're on, leap betwixt them. And straight out of the world. Goodbye, cruel world. So, that does only leave one level, and a lot of vehicles. We gotta show Cop. Cop is important. And I don't want to show it in the Goth level yet. So back to the docks. Cop is clearly based on the head-on version of Outlaw. But it is distinctly different. The most recognizable thing is the A12, which is visible on the final version of Head-On Outlaw. Pointed that out in an earlier playthrough. But in... Hey. You can fight each other. Monster infighting. It's weird how sometimes it pops up, the damage values, and most of the times it doesn't. So, in the later prototype, when you're driving around as this version of Outlaw, you can see like a weird Tesla coil in the back of the vehicle. And then when you select a taser, which this version of the vehicle doesn't even have access to, the whole thing pops out and like opens up like a bloomin' onion. It's a really cool animation that is unique to Harbor City, and I cannot show it off, tragically. But they did a pretty good job with the Harbor City version of Outlaw, which was probably going to look like this and not like the Agent Stoned Outlaw. I don't know how that would have worked. Maybe there would have been two Outlaws. Outlaw 1 and Outlaw 2 in Harbor City. In Harbor City, though, you can still see the mission structure. Story mode was going to be separated into missions, some of which would be on foot, most of which would be in vehicles, and a lot of them weren't about car combat in the sense that we understand Twisted Metal. A lot of them would be like, you're in an ambulance, you stole an ambulance, and now you're running from the cops. So all the enemy vehicles are cops. And you can destroy them, but you're supposed to escape from them. You're supposed to go from a start point to an end point. And then other levels where you're supposed to like destroy a bunch of thumpers, which probably would have had some kind of offensive justification in-game. So it was mission-based most of the game, it seems like. Very unique for Twisted Metal. Hey, T-Pose guy is right across the street from the Fonzies. Look at that. Bit of a turf war between our beloved NPCs. Well, we cannot interact with them, so that's all I wanted to show off. Harbor City definitely seems like it would have been interesting, and it was supposed to be set in, like, Seattle. Harbor City is supposed to be a Seattle parody, I heard one time, but cannot find further confirmation of. That's an interesting setting for what they got going. Mr. Slam, I also want to show off. Also not in the Goth level. So, back to the center. Mr. Slam Special actually works. I adjust my camera. I can, but it's still busted. Let's see what version of our special we got. Head on PSP or head on for the PS2. It's the PSP version. Slow grab, slow shake. Much more exploitable. No driver whatsoever. Which sort of makes sense, given the lore in Head-On, is that it is driven by a ghost. We do not have spectral vision, so as to see the ghost of the guy. What's his name? Branson Fessberg. The weird, disgruntled architect. You get quite a fling. Oh, Simon Whittlebone, thank you. But did I show this off last time? It's supposed to be a football field. For Super Bowl Sunday. Like all the other sports venues. Size values are all messed up and it looks terrible. But they tried. It seems like from the later betas. Well, the later beta. There's only one later version of this. Seems like they were going for removing all these sports centers. They were just sort of temporary assets. They might have just been things they had lying around. Textures to fill the world a little bit. For a game that no one was meant to see. But we're seeing it anyway. It's a little unclear how these things leaked, but eventually everything leaks. Don't worry about that. Hammerhead works. It's the Head-On version, of course. Axle does not work at all. Derby works. Derby works really well. Let's head all the way back to the rail yard, and then we'll cap things off with the goth level. We are almost done with our look at Harbor City. But, Crazy 8 here is surprisingly well animated and complete in its implementation. Not much has changed. You can see the, instead of arcing electricity, there's just lines, blue lines, emitting from the electricity emitters. And if I tap a direction 4 times in a row, instead of 3, it makes a darker line, indicating that we have charged up the special. And if you hit an enemy with the charged up special, it does like 10 more points of damage. It will show us the amount of damage that we do, as well as hitboxes that we're not normally supposed to be able to see. So Crazy 8 here is one of the most functional and fun to play vehicles here in this version of Harbor City. In the 2005 prototype, almost all of the Head-On cars have been removed. But more of the Twisted Metal Black cars have been fixed and made functional. So the 2005 prototype has 15 playable vehicles. Same as this version. But the vehicles that are playable are completely different. Our machine gun's pretty effective. And there we go, I'm out of ammo, and there are no pickups anywhere in this level. So it would take a trillion forevers to get anything else going here. Here's something. I don't think I showed off this collapsed pipe. And we can ride up. Get up here. Immediately fall off. while listening to some Castlevania music. Let's do this again. Hurl myself off the bridge. Into endless water. So, Preacher is also fully functional, but has no special. And no animations at all, so it's boring. Mr. Grimm, you can see what weapons are available on the vehicle. But that's it, no special. Yeah, Hammerhead, no special. Crimson Fury doesn't work, sadly. Taxi. Well, let's take a quick look at Taxi. I forget Taxi's deal. No special, no animations. Not much of a deal at all. My curiosity has been indulged. So, now for the big finale, we're going to the goth level with the hearse. The reason I saved this one for last is because this carries some major content warnings. We are about to see, you're not going to believe me, a lot of offensive, crude humor and nudity. There is nudity in this level. Fair warning in advance, but we're going to go through a bunch of strange textures, which definitely would not have made it to the final game. But, watch out. That's going to ride out the entire rest of this video, and there's nothing I can do. We'll take one lap around the level so you have a chance to tune out before we get into the nasty stuff. But you might spot some unpleasantness while I'm exploring. I'm going to try and look at things as little as possible. We do have actual civilians with actual bursts of blood when they die. Even Twisted Metal Black didn't have that. So that's a nice touch. It's called Goth because it is a mall. You're in a mall. This outside level is completely harmless. Oh, it killed me. Slightly less harmless than I suspected. Let's reset our settings here. Some of the walls are intangible, so I'm going to set up another save state. And we are almost back in. This level takes much longer to load than any of the other levels. It seems to be abnormally large, and it's got all these little people wandering around it. Tons of little people, in fact. Small is where I do not want to be, so let's get out of here as rapidly as possible. There, this should get us out. If you leave before the textures outside have loaded, you will also fall into the void, so take those exits slowly. Otherwise, you're falling forever. So it's just a little highway with some parking lots. Big angel statues. Pretty much everything is textured. This level has seemingly the most unique textures of any level in the game. Here's our special. I've often pointed out how the shadow special is essentially a gas can that travels along the ground instead of through the air. Here is literally a gas can. You can see the gas can. So I guess that's how it was coded all along. It's a retextured gas can. It doesn't take up ammo, but it also doesn't do damage. It is glitched, so it just doesn't work. But it's funny. And we can cause infinite explosions. That's fun. There's another one of the parking lots. What I'm looking for out here is there are signs that tell you what the name of the mall is. Or they might be on the upper level here. There we go. It is Blackfield Mall. That is important. One, because we're going to see the name Blackfield many times when we're inside the mall. And also because Midtown, where Twisted Metal Black took place, features Blackfield Asylum. That's where all the characters are kept. And we can just basically leave the entire mall area. How far does this rabbit hole go? Yeah, I'm lost in the labyrinth here. And it leads to Oblivion. There's all of our enemies falling forever because they loaded in Oblivion. So that's our safety lap. Let's join them in falling. Now, content warnings in full effect. We are checking out the inside of the mall. So, this is not the Raven thing. But it seems to be in the same vein as the Raven thing. Someone at Twisted Metal Black in the production team is weirdly inappropriate with the female characters they portray. So, we'll start on the ground floor. We're just going to look at some of the building names. Oh, here we have a bunch of chairs that are destructible. And, like, kiosks. And these little planters are breakable, but they're slightly elevated above the ground, so you gotta jump to hit them. So, we can go to... Start with a great one. Unolinctus. The clothing store. Or when you... I don't even want to make a joke about when you need to go there. We got Pulley. J. Crocker's. Dufresne Chocolatier. Nothing wrong with that. Woodard's. There's probably a way to pronounce that that is offensive, but I will avoid doing so. Bearers, I think is what that is. Barons, maybe. That font is illegible. We got another very hard to read font. It's like Kreutbosch or something. Kreutbosch. Butane Imports. Love Ridge? Yeah, Love Ridge. Or Louvre Ridge. Another look at Bearers or Barons. Zorko Casual. One of the developers, one of the programmers is named Zorko, and they use his name frequently. We got Shibans. Yatomis. An exit to the entire building. Baser Bakery. A bakery inside a mall. What do they think of next? Jackson 24/7. Dangle Yankers. In the Yankee Candles font. So that's a pretty good one. Scorasia. I'm intentionally ignoring these banners. We're saving the banners for last because they are the worst. Marmacelas. Bots Watch. Dufresne again. A lot of repeats we're going to see. Over here, Fots Watch on no storefront. Just on a wall. Okay. Rosanada Exercise. Not a very catchy building name. Clean this out a little bit. Snowman Sports. Butane again. Olson Tires? Olson Tunes. I guess it's realistic that a mall would have multiple storefronts with the same store. When I first moved to New Jersey, there was a... Oh, I'm frozen? This is very bad. Because Hearse is one of the vehicles that sometimes freezes forever. There's a mall in New Jersey near where I lived that had 3 Sam Goodies in the mall. So you could buy a lot of CDs if you were so inclined. So we had Cunnilingus. You could also go to Fellatio's. That's Fellatio's Possessive. There, God mode so I can't die. While I'm checking out Devores. Vor was definitely a thing that was well known in the year 2004. Repeats. Quakin' Toys. Just leather. Get your leather. Fauteuils for men. Zorko and Escroto. Dangle Yankers is back. So I think we've wiped out the entire ground floor, but there are 1 or 2 additional businesses up on the 2nd floor. Oh, never mind. Don Culo's hats. I think that might be an offensive term. Nikon camera. Isn't that a real one, just spelled differently? Zorko's backwards. JT Baggers. Saft Sacks Bag. Saft Sacks Bag. Arsh Jewelry. That was, okay, I gotta cover that one. Arsh Jewelry. So, Devores, Cogers, and then possibly the worst one. Uncle Pedos. Less said about that, the better. So on to the 2nd floor. We've earned it. Oral Vetech. That one, interpret that however you feel. Coninis? Okay, I'm frozen. That's kind of bad. Potentially. I can move again. Still not hard locked. Pinga Joe's. There's a surprising number of unique ones up here. Evan. Just a store for Evan. All your Evan needs. Kagar Lingerie. There's a good gross one up here. I'll find it sooner or later. There are multiple different ways to get up to the 2nd level. And I did not choose the fastest way to get to the one that I wanted to see. Also, I'm pretty sure you can't do the... Yeah, you can't do the alternate special here at all. And in fact, trying has locked my controls forever. So, Twister's helping me out, giving me some mobility, but I do have to reset here. But that's fine, we'll hop right back in, head back up to the 2nd floor, see if I can find the one and only business that I haven't spotted yet. Pretty sure I've been here. I think there's even a third floor. We'll come to those banners in a second. Possibly a poor choice of words, considering what is on those banners. But I'm the only one privy to that so far. Ah, Schwann's ties. And Kazos. Yep, use the Schwanns, folks. God mode just so that we can get back to those banners. Would not want to deprive you of those things. So they are all the way back near the start of the level. And those will be what we go out on. A lot of these signage, these signs we've read have been very offensive. This is where they cross the line. So, we got hanging out at the Blackfield. It's like a hanged corpse. These are all heavily photoshopped images with weird coloration and cute little slogans. The Slobber and Hound at the Blackfield. And it's a very delectable looking beverage. More than lip service at the Blackfield. And that appears to be a person in a bondage hood. That is probably very, very hard to read, but that is what I'm seeing. There's a bit of ink blot test to it. But not for long. Rackham at the Blackfield. Just some gratuitous cleavage. We got just at the Blackfield and then a lady's head with a bunch of weird technology poking out. You are not the one immature here. The video game is immature this time. Because here's what I warned you about. So this, I can't really read the top part. Bottom part says Blackfield, and these are topless women. It's extremely low resolution, so I don't think we're gonna get in trouble here. But at the top, it's a topless woman with pasties on. And at the bottom, it's just two topless women. No pasties, just topless. Why is that in a Twisted Metal Black game? It's probably unintelligible on the stream. On the YouTube upload, that will be much more clear, and there we go. Legitimate nudity in Twisted Metal. Although Twisted Metal Black sort of had that as well. But it was untextured nudity in Twisted Metal Black. In this game, the texture is the nudity. So yeah, they just like picked random image search images of topless women and put it in the game. In the 2005 version of this prototype, not only are all those banners gone, but every single one of these buildings has a completely different texture as its storefront. Every single one of them was redone from scratch. And they're all weirdly flickery, they don't work properly. But they're all much, much less offensive. They really cleaned up their act over the course of that year. I don't know who specifically got their hands on this game and put in all these weird, gross jokes, but their hands were removed. They never bothered the Twisted Metal series again. They probably made a bit of a mess in Twisted Metal 2012, if we're being honest. Because that game has some offensive crap. But there we go. That is Harbor City. It's a mess, but it showed a lot of potential. The 2005 version is actually pretty good looking, but it's still lacking that something that Twisted Metal Black had. Twisted Metal Black is sort of an ephemeral perfection to it. It's got its flaws, but not going near that banner. Harbor City definitely deserved to be finished and come out, but the funds simply weren't there, tragically. The civilian kill animations, at least, are quite solid. Not the sort of thing I should be praising, but it's more in line with what Twisted Metal Black is all about, to have these. And we're free. Thank you for joining me for this weird exploration of a weird unfinished game. But that is the remnants of Twisted Metal Black 2 as I have access to them. So, hope you enjoyed this little exploration. That is the extent of what I was able to show off. I could show you the redundant vehicles that have no animations, but not especially interesting. Feel like I've hit all the actual highlights that are worth seeing. So, there we go. See you again next week. Very important, though, next week's stream will be early. I should have mentioned this during the other streams. It'll start around noon instead of 3. Because I need to travel out of town later that day to a different state. So, early stream next week, and we'll be playing Twisted Metal Black, so tune in if you want to see that. Again, should have explained that much sooner. But if you're still watching, tune in around noon next Monday. Thanks so much for joining me. Have yourselves a good one. Sorry about those gross textures in the Goth Mall.